Chris,
Heath,
how's it going?
it's good. There's been many ups, a few downs, but what I can promise you is we have an exciting episode in store.
I thought so too. I thought that we had quite a bit of show prepared, and it's going to be on both of our accounts.
Absolutely. Best of all, episode 21 did not kill the podcast. We're still here.
So this is the new season, would be.
Season 2 of Mobius Tubes. Our production values are through the roof now.
Oh, yeah. As we sit at this oak table, sipping our gamer fuel.
Yes. I have a personal challenge for myself this episode, actually.
Is it to curtail the number of you-knows?
Oh my gosh, Heath. Last episode, I said the phrase "you know" easily 30 plus times. I cut out a lot of them, but some still slip through the cracks.
Everyone has their own verbal crutch.
My other goal is I brought a lot of statistics with me this episode. I would like, at some point throughout this episode, if you stop me and say, Chris, that statistic is blowing my mind, I will consider this a successful podcast.
All
That's
right.
my personal challenge.
Okay, I'll be listening for it. Yeah.
All right.
Episode 22 is being recorded on August 18th,
2019.
29th. Yeah, well, that'll be pertinent soon enough.
For you future listeners in the far-flung future.
Yeah.
And this is episode 22 of Mobius Tubes, specifically.
Yes, everyone's favorite show that sounds so good.
Yeah. How was your week, Ben Heath?
Yeah, I'll start things off. So I wrote a monologue about one of the games that I played. Everyone recalls I handed out homework at the end of class telling everybody to play Outer Wilds.
Oh, my.
And I didn't know what I thought Outer Wilds was going to be. I thought it was going to be like a 2D, just like a Terraria-looking game.
Oh, yeah, that is not the case.
It's a first-person. Well, anyway, I'll just get to the monologue.
This game is kind of an enigma to me. It's mysterious.
Did you play it or no?
I have not played it. I've heard a lot of praise for it, though.
Okay, well, this may be out of context, but it'll be fine. Outer Wilds is the answer to what if Firewatch was in space? What if Kerbal Space Program had a story? And what if No Man's Sky... Actually, it's pretty much No Man's Sky. You touch down on places of interest in the solar system, investigating ancient buildings, and avoiding typhoons on Neptune. It's fun, but more importantly, it's forgiving. If you floor your thrusters launching off Timber Hearth and collide head first into the Addle Rock, all you gotta do is step out and repair the damage, and you're back on Rainbow Road ready to explore some more. If you step out of your craft without wearing a spacesuit, your head doesn't just freeze like in Magic School Bus. You just gasp for air, signaling to the player that you get back to safety of the spaceship. So we can all agree it's fun, it's forgiving. Is it playable? Not really.
Oh.
I've gotten much better at landing and maneuvering in some of the more dangerous parts of the universe. Most people, I imagine, would hurtle into the sun at least once. So I can't recommend you pick up Outer Wilds unless you've beaten Portal. Chris, can you think of a better prerequisite? But you're saying you haven't played it yet?
I have not touched it. I've heard overwhelmingly positive things about it. You know, you're not the first person I've heard who said that navigating with the spacecraft takes some getting used to. I hear it is a little wonky.
Yeah, because you'll often have to throttle in a direction that you're not looking. So, like, your rocket's on the bottom of the ship.
Yeah.
You know, you can't necessarily look straight down and, like, utilize those because they'll just be 90 degrees under you. So we'll just put Outer Wilds on the back burner until you get to play it.
Okay. How many different worlds have you encountered?
I've gone to like fewer than 10.
Okay. Is it supposed to be our solar system or a fictional place in space?
There are Earth, Mars, and Neptune analogs.
Okay. Analogs.
And like a would-be Pluto.
Gotcha. Interesting. it's still one, despite the criticisms you mentioned. I'm still very much looking forward to trying it.
I can see why the Castle Super Beast Boys really enjoyed it and had such high praise for it. They went into spoilers. And so I, wanting to preserve the mystery, just skipped ahead in the podcast when they were going over that.
A wise idea.
I have not gotten far enough in the game to feel confident to listen to those spoiler talks.
Okay.
I think there's more I ought to see before I go and listen to that.
So you're in the early goings, it's fair to say.
I am. I'm definitely less than halfway done with the game.
Okay, gotcha. I hear maybe the ending is strong enough to make up for maybe some of your critiques.
Oh, yeah. And my critiques are not even critiques of my own. It's just a fair warning.
Got it.
That if you put on a VR headset and get disoriented, listener, you might want to pass on this one.
Okay.
But still listen to the spoiler talk because it'll be, you'll get some utility out of that. So that was one game I played.
Gotcha.
I've also, my job is very hurry up and wait. So I've had a lot of free time without internet connection, which might as well be prison.
It might as well. Yeah, you're just like lost in the void.
What is there to do? Yeah. But I had my laptop. So I played tens of hours of Civilization during this past week. And granted, I've talked about Civilization before, but this is probably the most concentrated streak I've had. I say Civilization, not just Civilization 5, because I would bounce from 5 to 6.
Huh?
So, okay,
Whoa.
the reason I would bounce is because Civilization 5 has the most fun early game ever.
Okay.
But the late game is kind of slow, or mid to late. So I get bored of it, or, not feel like my engine is chugging it along as fast as it was in the first 100 turns. So then I would go over to Civilization 6. Civilization 6 has a lame early game and a cool late game.
It's the inverse Civ 5.
That's right. So, I'd be just stumbling over myself in the early eras, trying to outpace these other civs and be like, oh man, it's going to be so much fun when I unlock spies and the movement on roads is decent. But I never get to that point. So I just go back to Civ 5 and be like, oh man, I want to play a fun early game. And so the cycle continues. I could teach a masterclass on Civilization 5. I am the foremost expert on that game.
Your PhD level Civ 5 aficionado.
Now I am. If I would create a semester around it, start with Washington. You recall me saying how Poland is the most overpowered civilization in that game, right?
I think so.
Because you get a free social policy every era, which just you can beeline commerce and get to the +2 happiness per luxury resource. This is we're getting in there.
The nitty gritty.
Yeah. If you're Washington, if you've never played Civilization 5, choose Washington because you'll have +1 visibility, and nothing is more accommodating to newcomers than just being able to see all of the fog of war. Previously, I would have recommended, if not Poland, Pocatello, the Shoshone guy. So you know how when you found a city, you get the tile you settle on and the 6 around it.
Yes, yeah.
And then if your culture is banging, your borders will expand to encompass the spices over there or the marble over here. Pocatello, when he plops his city down, he gets way more territory on the first go.
Oh.
So he can already reap the benefits of that wheat that's too far from the inner 6. I previously would have recommended him. And plus, he also has a unique unit that can pick the rewards you get from ancient ruins in the early game. But if you can't see what's beyond the fog of war, for a newcomer, you're having fewer opportunities to make or break decisions. If you got Washington, you can see, oh, okay, my next city is going right in that perfect. It's literally just covered in gold. There's their gold resources everywhere. So I'm gonna go there. Whereas if you were another civ, that might be obscured in the clouds. Even though Civ 5 is probably like 9 years old at this point, it's still the best looking Civilization game. When I see cattle in Civ 5, I'm looking at some decent cows, miniature cows, littering a grassland. When I look at rice in Civ 6, and granted, this might just be because I'm playing on my laptop on site at work, and so I'm not using the graphical capabilities of my desktop.
Yeah.
Rice is just these little green confetti on the sloping topology. So don't bother with Civ 6 unless you already have 500 hours in Civ 5. That's all I'm going to say. Although, that's not all I'm going to say, because I'm totally going to release a masterclass complete walkthrough of Civ 5.
I would probably be the target audience for your PhD level walkthrough because Civ 5 is just sitting in my Steam library, begging to be played, wasting away. I've put a grand total of like 3 hours into it. I need this deeper understanding.
Well, you might have to wait to get it, but I really ought to do it just because I've gotten so much entertainment out of this game, and there's no reason not to share my experience.
It's a boon to the general community.
Yeah.
Very good. Heath, do you hear that?
What,
It's
Chris?
like the sound of rushing water. I'm serious.
Rushing water?
I know what it is.
What?
It's the sound of the incoming gushing I'm about to do in regards to Fire Emblem Three Houses.
So you listened to the clip that I sent you.
I have not gotten to it.
Oh, dang. Well, I watched your friggin' Hassan Minaj.
I'm sorry.
This is a one-way street.
It is, very much.
Well, I'll just sum up what they said. They're like, boy, Claude is the hottest boy.
Yes.
Golden, and Wooly agrees with you. Golden Deers is where it's at. And he even honked with
Most certainly, yes.
with enthusiasm. Well, I'll let you get to it.
Where do I even begin, Heath? I'm going to put on my...
Have you beaten it?
No.
Wow, you are going at that pace that you mentioned.
One cool thing about this game is I have a coworker at work whose brother is playing it. So my coworker is the middleman. We're sending like these weird, obscure, out of context texts to one another through my coworker. And this game is a game that's divided into a part 1 and a part 2.
Mm-hmm.
I have just crossed into part 2.
Hey, so are you done recruiting?
Recruiting is a thing of the past.
Yeah,
these
that's what I
days.
thought.
I ended up poaching a total of 4 students.
Apparently, you can poach them all except for the house leaders and the seconds.
Yes, they each have like a retainer who is immune to poaching.
Mm-hmm.
So I was egalitarian with it. I took 2 from the Black Eagles and 2 from the Blue Lions. So I am in part 2 now. I've passed the halfway point of this game. This coworker's brother...
Has he beaten it?
He has beaten it. He said getting to part 2 took him like 30-ish hours.
Getting to part 2.
Getting to part 2. I
spent 45.
I made it to part 2 in 60 hours.
Wow.
I don't know if I have a learning disability or something. I think I'm just luxuriating in this world so much because honestly, I'm going to get to my criticisms in a second. One of them is this game is too easy, at least on the normal difficulty setting. But let's focus on the positive stuff first because there's a lot of positives. One of which is this is one of the most satisfying feedback loops in a video game I've ever encountered. No matter what you're doing, whatever activity you're choosing to spend your free day activity points on, which by the way, last time I could have 6 meals in a day. Now I can...
No way.
I can do 10 meals in a single day.
That's too many meals.
20 students with me at the dining room table. It's fantastic. No matter how you choose to spend your time, it is benefiting you in at least 2 other aspects of the game. Whether you go to choir practice, which raises your faith skill, makes you closer with your students, and
the ones that are religious.
Yeah.
Is everyone likes
everyone
a
can
prayer?
gain faith.
Yeah.
faith in the game is kind of the game's like white magic system. And then reason is obviously the black magic system, because reason is evil. So no matter how you're choosing your daily free time, it is benefiting you in that tactical battle mode. And you're just always eager to get back into the battle to see how you have tangibly improved. Thank you. And then you're excited to get back to the daily roam around mode because that battle made everyone like each other more. So then you get to see these side conversations. And these side conversations, Heath, serve two purposes. Whenever two characters in your party have crossed the threshold from a C support to a B support, you're treated to this cutscene. You can go into a menu to activate. And the cutscene, it's this nice narrative reward to just see this relationship developing, but then also it comes across with actual gameplay benefits of when these two units are close together, they help each other on the battlefield.
Yes, just like synergies, like Slay the Spire.
Yes, synergies upon synergies. These side conversations happening helps to flesh out the world. It makes me believe that there is more going on here than just my main character, because everyone else has these unrelated relationships that you're not even a part of. They unveil different sides of a character you wouldn't see otherwise. Mm-hmm. Some of them are really funny because, and I kind of appreciate this, not all characters are immediately buddy-buddy. Some really don't like each other. I've got this snooty noble in my house called Lawrence, and this kind of big, bulky, happy-go-lucky guy named Raphael. And they've been...
Raph. Oh my God. Yeah. I've heard of Raph.
He's great. When they hit C support, which is the lowest one, there was this scene where at the dining room table, Lawrence is like, can you please go somewhere else? I can't concentrate on eating. And Raphael's kind of like oblivious to it. And then, so after this very like mean conversation, to be greeted with this pop-up saying, they've achieved support level C. It's kind of hilarious because if the same event happened in my life, I'd never talk to that person again. But in this game,
in Fire Emblem, that's like
it grows them closer.
The groundwork of friendship.
Yes, there's many like that. It's this funny juxtaposition. Yeah.
So when you said this game was too easy, I wasn't thinking of the combat. I was thinking of what I hear is there's like a box where you can, like, the students have submitted their questions because you're the professor and you get to answer them. But like the anonymity is preserved. And apparently like you have to like infer who the characters are. It's like, oh, I don't like tea. What am I supposed to do?
Yes,
when people invite me to tea.
There's a confession box where it shows you this character's silhouette. It's like, who's that Pokemon? It's who's that student in Fire Emblem? And you've got these three optional choices, and if you respond with the response that would benefit them the most,
to that character,
that would appeal to that character, you increase your relationship with them.
Yeah. Is that what you mean by too easy? Like, are you be able to like, oh, that's Raphael, I got to appeal to his jovial nature?
No, that stuff is okay enough. I'm more talking about the actual tactical battles. They very often do not have a lot of tension to them. Into the Breach is a game with a rewind mechanic in it, where you get 1 or 2 rewinds per battle. In Fire Emblem 3 Houses, I currently have 12 rewinds per battle.
Ooh,
which...
generous.
Yes, very generous.
You could probably beat a battle in fewer than 12 turns.
Yes.
And be 1 away from winning, and then just backpedal all the way to the start.
Right. And these rewinds are not limited to just going back like 1 turn away. You can go back as many turns as you want, basically.
Oh.
And at this point in the game, I'm rewinding for the most inconsequential thing, where I'm just like, you could be 1 more square to the right. I'll rewind and use 1 to do that. So they're
genius.
At this point, they're a very cheap currency for me to use. The game has 2 difficulty settings.
I heard, okay, yes. Then that's a big deal.
It is a big deal. 1 is the actual like strength of the enemy units. 1 is casual or classic, I believe. Mm-hmm. And this is whether or not your students permanently die when their HP drops to 0. Permanently die means they don't show up at all for the rest of the game. They're just permanently scrubbed from every future cutscene. They're gone. That said, I haven't lost anyone yet. I've got infinite rewinds to undo any death that does not please me. So I guess on one hand, when I start a battle, there's never any doubt in my mind that I'm going to win. The only doubt in my mind is, am I going to win perfectly and not lose anyone? Because at this point in the game, I'm attached to these characters. If I lose someone...
Oh, God forbid you have to choose.
Yes. Holy cow. We talked about ethical decisions, morally gray ethical decisions in this war of mine. If I have to choose between Leone and Hilda, I'm going to lose it, Heath.
Who cares more about your personal life?
So I'm going to achieve the objective in the fight, but losing one of my cherished students would be a far bigger blow to my ego than anything else.
You throw like the sleepy boy in the crossfire to save the two you like.
Yes. So to that extent, there is a little tension to a battle because once in a while, I will accidentally put them in a dangerous situation.
In harm's way, yeah.
Yeah. That is the game's saving grace. It prevents it from being a complete limp towel. There is the tension there because you're not just trying to win, you're trying to win perfectly. You can't lose anyone.
Right.
And now that I'm in part 2, things have been getting more difficult. Thank goodness. At 60 hours in, I was just now starting to get a little bit bored with the
engine building.
My professor ranking is A+ now. I am the best professor who ever lived.
The most all students pass. Your tenure is...
I can pack down the meals like no one else.
You're gonna... Yeah. Dude, okay, when you said that, I'm totally thinking of the underweight Arthur Morgan from my playthrough and like corpulent, whatever your character is. Byleth. Oh, that's Byleth?
Byleth is the main character's canonical name.
Oh, okay. So that's why. Okay. So I want underweight Arthur Morgan to face off against the fattest Byleth who's eating 20 meals a day.
Absolutely. Even the most inconsequential, tiny-ass details of this game, I just love them. In between each month is a chapter in this game. Yeah. So in the chapter transitions, you're treated to this 30-second cinematic of like this middle-age style European tapestry. It's like showing...
sort of like the Smash mural.
Yeah, kind of like that. It's a little more old style.
Okay.
It's just showing the changing of the seasons. The main character's father, Geralt, his voice actor, is narrating over the whole thing with the smoothest, silkiest voice imaginable.
Okay, is he? Do I know a character that he also voices?
Intoxicating. I don't know who this voice actor is, but you need to give him more work. It is just, I am enraptured the entire time. It's just talking about the land of Fodlan and their traditions, and like, oh, in February this kind of happens. It's making me nostalgic for this land that doesn't exist, that I've never visited. And you can't skip these little things. You'd never want to.
No,
they're fantastic. They're these 30-second little chunks in the 60-hour game, 60-hour plus game. This is probably going to take me over 100 hours to finish at my current rate. The soundtrack in this game is a banger, Heath.
Okay, now you have my attention.
Yes.
What do you mean? Okay, because there are no shortage of Fire Emblem songs.
Sure.
Of which I have no favorites.
I see. There is not a single track I have encountered which I have not at least liked.
Okay.
During the school day music, it's just upbeat and cheerful.
Yeah.
During the kind
orchestral
of mysterious times, there's this like weird kind of ethereal music going on. I like it a lot. The battle music makes me pumped up to move guys around the grid. It's really good.
I have a soft spot for battle music.
There are multiple battle themes, and I like them all. I can't choose a favorite.
Cue Rude Buster and certain Pokemons, and battle music is his own genre. If you to the layperson,
it's a weird style. It's mostly orchestral with some little splashes of like dubstep in there. It's strange. I like it a lot. But that's a lot of gush. To keep this podcast objective, I have a couple of criticisms.
All right.
One of which is I feel like the dialogue system in this game is a bit dated or a bit contrived. Case in point, I'll walk around in the church's kind of cathedral area, and I'm going to talk to my students who are hanging out there. First, I approach Mary Ann, and she's praying. She says, "Professor, this praying makes me feel so much better. It really puts my mind at ease. Are you religious? And then you've got, yeah. And then the other option, not really. If you choose the response they like, you build your relationship with them. So you bet I'm going to tell Marianne that I'm praying.
I pray every day.
I pray nonstop.
Praying right now.
After that, I take 10 steps over to talk to Claude. He's like, I don't really believe in fate. This is all kind of, I choose my own destiny here. What do you think about that, Professor? And your responses are, yeah, atheism all the way. Or, no, I really...
There's a destiny,
I definitely believe in destiny. So I'm basically a sociopath who has no self-identity whatsoever. I am just telling people what they want to hear the entire time. There's no role-playing aspects to this.
I hope it's right next to each other where it's like, oh, man, I love Creed.
Yes, they're literally right next to each other. It is astonishingly...
Yay.
You have to suspend your disbelief. You can role play it, but you're not. There is no benefit for choosing the wrong answer. This is a kind of an issue that has been solved years ago. I think of
Mass Effect, right?
I think of actually a different BioWare game, Dragon Age Origins, back in 2009. When you're talking to your party, there's those kind of binary decisions, but depending on which one you pick, you build your relationship with different people. Some people disapprove when you say something, while others simultaneously are approving. So there's never the wrong decision. It's just which party members are you building it with? Because each of these conversations in Fire Emblem happen kind of in isolation, you're always just changing your answer willy-nilly to appease whoever is there in question.
Usually there's a top left, oh, such and such didn't like that.
Yeah.
Come on, Three Houses.
So my Byleth has no personality of his own. He's just a mirror that he puts up a reflection to whatever they want to see.
Clayface.
Yeah. So in addition to the outdated dialogue, I'm not going to harp on this too much. I poked fun at Breath of the Wild for not looking great. It's just a Switch game thing at this point.
But now it looks really polished compared to the animations in Three Houses.
At this point, I think Breath of the Wild is a much prettier game
you
than
had
Three
it too
Houses.
Good.
Three Houses, some of those environments are ugly and drab, but to the game's credit, that's not affecting my enjoyment whatsoever. This is still my favorite game of the year. I push all that to the side. I don't care if everyone looks like a PS2 model. I care about them all the same. I already talked about a little bit too easy, which brings me to the final thing of Fire Emblem today. And at this point, I would encourage some of our listeners to tune out because this is a mild spoiler.
Okay.
If you have watched Nintendo's E3 2019 trailer for Fire Emblem Three Houses, what I'm about to talk to you about is not a spoiler. This was covered in the trailer. However, if you were on media blackout and you haven't not seen any Fire Emblem stuff,
it's story related.
It is story related, and you're intending to play the game, I think it would be really cool to go into the game with this completely blind. So I'd encourage you to use the timestamps in the description, skip out of the Fire Emblem talk, go to the next segment. However, if you don't care or you've already seen that trailer, stick around because I have something to say about part 2 of this game.
Yeah, because I imagine part 2 is all right, you got all your boys, everyone's fit to fight, and then you have to face off against Corinth.
Part 2 of this game, Heath, as detailed in that trailer, there is a significant time skip.
Oh, okay.
The days of school lessons are over. Graduation has come and gone, you can say.
Wow.
And now 5 years have passed. And all of your students are now blossoming young adults. And
that's
and a tragedy has struck. Big events have happened. Mm-hmm. The entire socio-political landscape of the country or the land of Fodlan has been drastically altered. You're in a very different climate now. There's just this very cool moment at the beginning of part 2 where, the 5 years have passed, your students have gone their separate ways.
Oh.
And you're still Byleth, the professor.
Yeah, you're not a mercenary, just roaming about?
Yeah, you started, your origin was a mercenary. You became a professor. Stuff has been happening. Uh-huh. And you're in this battle. The odds are stacked against you. But one by one, your students start to join the fray. They're reconvening, getting the gang back together. And as they show up one by one, they have all new character designs, all new outfits. Some of them, have clearly by their manner of speech have gained some confidence over the past 5 years. It is a very touching moment. Not only have they been narratively changed, but over those 5 years, some of them have leveled up. They've got higher stats. Some have like these brand new items. Some have new classes. Claude is now flying around on a wyvern.
Oh,
it's really cool.
He's got a mount.
So to just see these characters who I've grown attached to over 60 hours, now to see them in like more matured, more experienced young adults, it was really cool and touching.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine if you have to deal with this scrub in the early game and you like don't give up on them, and then in game years later they come back as a badass and it's like, yay!
Yeah, exactly. Everyone got at least 20% bump to their coolness.
Facelift. Yeah, okay, cool, yeah. Cool.
And as I'm playing through part 2 now, it is becoming very clear that the other house paths in the game tell a very different story.
Oh, good. I was worried it was a palette swap.
This game features a New Game Plus mode, so you get to carry over a lot of experience and stuff. I am tempted to check that out.
Mm-hmm.
This game, it's called Three Houses. There aren't just 3 separate paths in this game.
Oh,
there's like 4 separate paths in the game.
Wow, that's
this game has replayability through the roof. I am just enamored with it. At this point, there's a very high chance it cracks my top 10 games of all time.
Wow, great.
And that is Fire Emblem Three Houses.
And it came out of nowhere.
Yeah, this like lazy summer release. You think about games coming in like the winter and the fall.
Mm-hmm.
But the summer is usually like a dry spell. And here's my game of the year.
So I've liked some tweets. Do you recognize some of these folks?
Oh, yeah. That's the Golden Deer house all the way.
This is just like a Persona style portmanteau, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then I also liked this one. The caption is, when the time skip is getting closer and you still haven't recruited the students you want.
He's just buying up all the gifts available so that he can increase the relationship. To say this video does not represent my gameplay would be misleading. This is exactly what I'm doing.
I'm glad you got however much of that. All right. That was Fire Emblem. Oh, also, friggin' Game Maker's Toolkit.
Yeah.
Smelly, this is from my Twitter now. Smelly bad YouTubers. 6,000 videos about how Fallout 76 and Anthem suck. The lads, according to Game Maker's Toolkit. And it's all of these like documentaries and think pieces on Hitman's level design.
Yeah. Some of these I've watched.
Oh, really? I think I will jump into the news unless we got more things from our weeks.
How about we take a break?
Oh, yeah, I totally forgot the break.
And we're back.
We're back. I also played a little more This War of Mine and a little Dead by Daylight, but not enough to have like an account.
Gotcha. Well, maybe in a forthcoming episode.
Both are difficult. They are not a Fire Emblem 3.
No Fire Emblem. Okay.
So, the first order of news refers to Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Okay.
You recall for Sun and Moon, they did funny redesigns of their guys.
Yeah, kind of like Hawaiian-themed, tropical-themed Pokemon.
Most notably, Palm Tree Executor.
Yeah.
With the really tall neck. And you've seen like the Don't Stop Me Now.
I need you to fill me in.
All right, this is quick. So, Executor spent however many years as like a portly plant monster, and he's just itching for a redesign.
So what's its redesign look like?
Oh, friggin', it's a pineapple, or no, it's a palm tree. Executor got like a massive neck. Muck got like a oil spill redesign, which I think is cool and everyone else thinks is gross. Persian got a fat face.
Yeah.
Doug Trio got
blonde hair.
So you don't know anything about a lowland Doug Trio.
That is correct. I don't.
This is shocking. It's reference to these volcanic rocks on Hawaii or whatever that have this. It's called Pele's hair. It's the product of molten ballistic glass stretches from lava, which create long strands of hair-like material, and it coats these rocks. So that's why Doug Trio all look like they have blonde wigs. Is because it's a regional thing.
That's really freaking cool.
But it's so goofy looking. So good on them for making it a fun design with some relevance. Diglett looks just as silly. They made the fire things ice. They made Rattata dark. And so they did the same things with their Galarian forms. So Sun and Moon is Hawaii. Sword and Shield is England.
Yeah.
So look at Weezing. He's like a smokestack Vanderbilt mustache, like Leviticus Cornwall with the smog. It's my favorite redesign ever.
Like Industrial Revolution pollution.
It's so funny.
That image right there has made me want to play this game more so than anything else.
Okay, so Sun and Moon. Friggin', you've heard all the bad things, or not Sun and Moon.
Sword and Shield.
Sword and Shield, you hear all the terrible things and not bringing back the guys you like. It's poorly animated. You know, there's so much against
lazy
it.
animations.
But then you do like these charming things, like yay! It's a goofy looking capital. No, what are they called? Captains of Industry. Yeah. Friggin' Weezing looks so funny. And then, Zigzagoon and Lanoon, they pulled a Alolan Rattata. They just made him dark,
Yeah.
So that's that. Other news. Oh, okay. SilvaGunner. So I'm in Wegmans, right? And I'm eating a rotisserie chicken after work. And I'm scrolling through Twitter. And I see this from Silva's Twitter. It just says game over. And it's all of the copyright claims for like all of the music that I listened to. I think Nintendo is pivoting to release their soundtracks on streaming services.
Oh, okay.
And that's why they're cracking down on YouTube. And this is coming at a really bad time because SilvaGunner is gearing up for their King for Another Day tournament. I didn't talk about this when it first happened. The SilvaGunner team did a really cool contest. It's called King for a Day. You basically got to vote on which songs you liked the most, and the winner of the tournament would have their own dedicated month where it's all rips that fit their theme. So what they did was, you have all these characters, like Thanos, they would upload a song that fits his source list. Marvel, Fortnite, and then King DDD, it's rips featuring Kirby music. Mm-hmm. And they expand it. So there's like Agit Pie. You remember the internet guy?
FDCC.
Yeah. So you ever remember him doing like a fidget spinner meme thing?
Uh-huh.
So his rips include fidget spinners, slow internet, Harlem Shake. We're having Adam Levine as a new character. So Mr. Krabs rips about money. They had like a Nintendo Direct, basically, complete with like commercials.
Yeah. Wow.
This was the Lighthouse Live.
It has the Switch sound. That's pretty good.
So they do like a full Meet the Flintstones. Yeah.
Pretty high production values. And it's narrated over like he's speaking Japanese.
You can vaguely hear what he's saying.
Oh, this is golden.
So the hope is that Nintendo doesn't take the rug out from under them with all of them cracking down on the copyright claims.
Yeah.
In time for the tournament.
That would be very disappointing.
They really care about it a lot, and they're trying to make it as cool as they can.
I'm not in the audience here, but it looks pretty cool to me.
I'll send you some. If it sounds good, I'll send it to you. But they're very meme, very dank.
You're speaking my language.
So that's what I had in the news. But you actually have some journalistic content.
We can get there in a bit. Did you want to talk at all about the episode of the Patriot Act called The Dark Side of the Video Game Industry?
Yes. a expose on what we talked about when I brought my articles that I didn't read about the game devs experiencing workers' rights abuses. And then, well, first of all, the video starts out.
And this is like a Netflix original show, I believe. Who's the host? What's his name?
Hassan Minhaj.
Thank you. Very good.
Of Daily Show.
Yes.
Product. I have some complaints about the show itself.
Okay.
So the set is amazing.
Yes.
And the format is pretty cool. His graphics department.
10 out of 10.
They're self-aware and they're
deprecating humor.
Experts. But I have a problem with the direction of the show. It's really good, with the exception of every once in a while, the camera will cut to what I will call the TED Talk angle.
Yes.
The camera thinks Hassan Minhaj is Steve Jobs.
Yes,
and
I
very,
know exactly what you're saying.
Very prophetic. It'll have like a head on, he's talking in front of the visual effects. And then it'll cut to like a Dutch like side thing with the background sweeping behind him. And he'll be like looking and just, or like, this is how it is. It's like,
sure.
That was my one complaint with the show. But otherwise, it's beautifully produced.
Yeah. The too long didn't read version of this video you sent me that I liked quite a bit. You were like, wow, the video game industry is making all of the money.
We are in such a good business.
Oh no, it's a sweatshop.
Oh, what are we supposed to do? Okay, place your bets. We will have video game unions within the next 5 years.
Yeah, and
for sure. There's too much money involved.
That's crazy. You mentioned too much money involved. We've spent a couple episodes floundering in the dark, trying to compare the relative size of different entertainment industries. This episode opened up right off the bat. They say, as of 2018, gaming industry revenue was $139 billion. By the way, that's bigger than the film industry, the music industry, NFL, the NBA.
NHL. Remember that?
The NHL and the MLB all combined.
Yeah.
So, game's pretty big. Still, this is just a me thing. Still having
the stigma
issue, just wrapping my head around the industry this large still has a stigma, like you said, still has a lot of people who just, in my life, who don't really know anything about it. I mean, I guess that's maybe not too surprising. I don't know anything about the NHL, really. But
icing.
Yes. Moving on, though, they touch on a lot of good issues that we know that are out there, but it's really cool to see this like pretty this is not a gaming related show. This is just a one-off episode segment.
Oh yeah. The episode right after talks about like fentanyl.
Yes. To see like mainstream media coverage focusing on the unionization of the video game industry, which, unions aren't really in the tech industry, period.
That's what he said. Yeah.
It's just the cry for unions is getting louder and louder, and I think we're going to see it fairly soon.
Oh, yeah. Which is good. It'll be interesting to see whether or not that will stifle growth or affect consumers. But, Heath, how can you worry about that when people's livelihood is it's unfair that they have to work under those conditions?
Yeah.
But I want my games to come out.
On the one hand, I hear what you're saying. If unions are put into place well, it will probably mean games take longer to make. My counter to that is we don't exactly have a shortage of games coming out, do we?
Oh, true. Yeah.
I'm way behind. I'm years behind.
Yeah.
I've played
you will get to Red Dead in 2021.
Yeah, exactly. So I just say
Red Dead's going to have to compete with Cyberpunk.
Basically, for my time.
Which is years apart.
Exactly. So as from my perspective, sitting here on this podcast, I don't see a downside, really. Take all the time you need. I am well taken care of.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. I mean,
it could push the price of games up. That could be a consequence. Maybe games should cost more. I don't.
For the amount of work that's going into them, yeah.
Yeah. But I'm very happy to see. I thought he was informative and entertaining on this show. I was very happy to watch it.
Hats off to Hassan Minhaj. He came to UB, didn't he?
That I don't know for sure. All right, Heath.
I hinted at this, yeah.
I know there are few things on this earth you love more
than stats.
than demographic statistics.
Yay!
All right. One statistic they threw out there in the episode of the Patriot on the dark side of the game industry.
Yeah.
They mentioned that globally, we have 2.4 billion gamers. And we saw a similar number. It might have been like 2.2 back when we were talking about the WHO, the World Health Organization, and their estimates. And I think you and we talked about briefly how like maybe that's a misleading thing or a misleading
I thought
statistic.
that it was inflated.
The kind of dissonance that comes from that is when we talk about, say, we have one term for gamers. And for, say, movies, we have like movie goers and we have movie
cinephiles.
Buffs.
Yeah.
Movie buffs, cinephiles. We have different terms for like levels of investment.
Mm-hmm.
When I hear the word gamer, my mind immediately goes to like someone who's likely to buy dedicated gaming hardware, like a console, someone who is, picking up several AAA games a year, someone who knows about the vibrant indie scene, someone who's keeping up on trends. They know like what a games as a service game is. They know what Battle Royale is. But gamer, in that context, it means people who have literally played a video game, which, that's as good a definition as any. Gamer, someone who plays a game.
Yeah, it's too broad. We need to crack down on the casuals, is what I think they should be called.
I was thinking maybe we need a term for the more hardcore crowd.
No, because gamer fits that so appropriately.
You think so? I was thinking,
if I say, Chris, you're a gamer, it's automatically jumping to the furthest extreme rather than the like somewhere in the middle.
Calling the layman casual sounds kind of derogatory, though.
Well, yeah, I hate everyone.
Oh, okay. I was thinking it should be like gamer and like game enthusiast or game buff or something like that. Anyway, I was really curious, what is the breakdown like? How many people are in that more hardcore crowd?
Enthusiast, yeah.
How are the stratas divided? And this led me down an internet rabbit hole.
That's so nebulous.
It is nebulous. Like, where's the cutoff exactly? If I buy 5 AAA games a year, do I not make the cut? But if I bought that 6th one, I do? And then there's the people who, like, maybe they just buy Call of Duty, but then they play it for hundreds of hours every year.
Oh, yeah.
That's very different, but they're still sinking in that large time investment.
The free-to-players that just sink so much more time.
So I am fascinated with gamer demographics, and this is the closest I've felt. I imagine if you're like a real investigative journalist, this is how you feel all the time. I've uncovered some stuff for us, Heath. And I uncovered a report. I think this came out in 2018. There is a big research company called the NPD Group. Every month, they release like the top 10 or 20 best-selling games of the month. They have a lot of data on video games. Usually it's just game sales figures. I think it's Matt Piscatella who tweets out the NPDs every month on game sales. A subsection of the NPD Group called the EEDAR released a report in 2018 called Gamer Segmentation. And this is a highly detailed breakdown of all the statistics you could want and more about people playing games in the United States.
Mm.
So this is not a worldwide report, just the US. And this is as legit a report as it gets. It was tough to track down. I found articles coming out around the release of this report that mentioned it, but they weren't linking directly to it because it's not publicly available.
Oh.
I went
you didn't have to pay, did you?
I went to the official EEDAR website. They say they have a free version of this report that if you submit your business email to them, they will email it to you directly.
Wow.
So I sent them in my Gmail account, got denied. They said that's a personal account. You're not really here for business. Thankfully, I work at a company, not one that works in games at all, but I got past their filter, submitted my work email.
Yeah.
They sent it to me, the free version. Now, unfortunately, the free version is a bit...
How redacted is it?
Is a bit neutered here. It's a bit redacted. Some of the stuff I really wanted to know is not included in here. I was willing to pay some money to get the full version.
Yeah, we would have started up Patreon and been like, hey, we want to know what this is. Send us your bits.
I emailed their contact person. name of Cooper, and he got back to me promptly. He said he'd be happy to give us the full version of the report for a small transaction fee of $7,500 US.
What a racket. This is okay, so the reason being this information is
This
relevant
information
for like industries?
Publishers are using this information to determine what games they are funding.
Oh.
This
Which is why it's so valuable.
This is very valuable information. So suffice to say, I did not spend $7,500.
Our Patreon is going up right now.
But I have the free
Although
version
we'd be
here.
leaking it. There has to be like an NDA.
There are NDAs. We would not be able to talk about the full version on the show.
Still, Patreon's up. Chris and I want to know.
Yeah. I got some of the answers I was looking for here.
Okay.
This is like a beautifully laid out report. First of all, just the baseline, Heath. What percent of Americans do you think have played a video game at all on any device in the past month? We have that number in this report.
40.
Actually, a bit higher than that.
It's like 80.
67% of Americans play video games.
Wow, just 2/3.
2/3. That accounts for 211 million people.
Yeah.
More relevant to what I was looking for here, they broke down game players into 6 strata for us.
Yay, we get to give them fun nicknames too.
They actually came up with fun nicknames on their own.
Oh man, this is the best art. This is the best episode ever.
They even have some alliteration in here. It's a lot of fun. It's worth noting that these 6 groups are mutually exclusive, meaning no one person belongs to multiple groups at the same time.
Oh.
These are all independent. Over the course of someone's lifespan, they can transition
migrate,
from one group to another. If these were Venn diagrams, they're all circles. None of them overlap.
Right. That's what you mean by mutually exclusive.
Exactly. So here's the one I was most interested in. The most hardcore of the hardcore, defined as the super gamers.
Yeah, dude, the G word, it's just, you don't even need the super in my opinion. It just goes to that in your mind. But that's got to be like 10 million?
We could
out of
do
the 211?
We could do the conversion here. They've broken these down into percents.
Probably, yeah, percents.
So
super gamer refers to no more than 15%.
You are correct. No more than 15%. The actual percentage they have listed here is 13% of gamers
so good.
fall into the super gamer category.
Which is us.
Yes. The actual description here is they are super invested and super engaged. This audience reflects the broadest and deepest gamers on the market. What I really wanted here was detailed breakdowns of each of these strata. That is in the full report.
Okay.
I did dig up from another site a couple more tidbits about the super gamers themselves.
Mm-hmm.
The average age of a gamer full stop, so across the entire board,
it's super high, right?
is
It's 32?
32, exactly.
Oh my god, dude, I'm a savant.
Super gamer average age is
It's
lower.
like 20.
It is 25.7 years old. So they skew a bit younger.
It's all those Fortniters.
What do you think the gender breakdown is, Heath?
Oh, it's 90% male.
I would have probably guessed, maybe
75.
75 to 80% male. However, it's a lot more egalitarian than that.
Yay!
It is 64% male, 36% female. So, there's definitely not parity there, but the silver lining is it's not as dire as I might have thought. Yeah, it's not as low as like 80% male or something like that. It's only 64% male. So that was a pleasant surprise
That's
to
good,
see.
yeah.
A quick rundown about the other 5 types of gamers in kind of descending order of investment. We have the console warriors.
Yay! I love it. Friend, whoever wrote, we got to shout out this firm again. What's the
EDAR? The EDAR.
EDARs. Yo, EDARs, you guys do good work. This is so much fun.
They are similar size. They're 14%.
Okay, so this is just anybody that has got a Wii.
I think that's a bit more than that. This says console-centric gamers who keep up with the latest gaming trends and enjoy action-packed multiplayer experiences.
But may not be like indie darlings or con goers or
the
supers.
The people who buy Call of Duty and
Just
Madden
Dance.
every year and then play it all year round until the next sequel comes out, they are the console warriors.
Console warriors.
Yes. Moving on to the transitionals.
Oh.
This is 11% of
From
U.S.
platform to platform?
gamers. Not quite. Different kind of transition. They're invested adult gamers whose stage of life means shifting from HD-centric gaming to more flexible mobile gaming. These are like lapsed gamers. I'm picturing like 30 and 40-year-olds who grew up with like the Super Nintendo or even the NES, and they don't have as much time these days. Okay. They're getting their gaming fix elsewhere.
And this was like 20%?
11%.
Oh, okay.
So even smaller.
Yeah.
This next one I hadn't even considered, but I was part of this group for a while. The easy accessors.
Yeah.
This is 17% of US gamers, and this group is younger gamers whose choice of platform is constrained by access, leading them to play primarily on mobile free-to-play games.
Yeah, or like browser.
Yes, and when I was in this category, I was playing browser games.
Yeah.
Access was constrained. You don't have all the consoles when you're a kid. You have to be less, you're not as choosy. You just take what you can get.
Yeah. People who play on MacBooks.
Second to last one, the daily dabblers.
I love you guys.
The biggest one so far, 19% of US gamers.
Oh, it's the biggest one so far?
Biggest one so far.
This is so brilliantly partitioned.
Older gamers who regularly set aside time to play familiar, casual games on PC and or mobile. The picture here is of an older gentleman playing solitaire on his computer.
Yeah, the daily dabblers.
They've got gaming as part of their daily routine.
Yo.
They play every day. It's just not necessarily the games we talk about on this podcast.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of daily dabblers at the nursing home or on the bus.
And last but not least, the biggest category of all.
Oh.
The incidental players.
It's not even... It's by accident.
Yes. Oh my gosh, this video game.
I fell into this Candy Crush.
This is 26% of US gamers.
That's so funny.
So over a quarter of them.
You never categorize like a martial arts person as like an incidental. This is someone who accidentally karate chops.
The description here is actually, it says non-gamers who play mobile games because they are convenient and provide another way to use their device.
Oh.
It's the most low effort, low hanging fruit available.
Yeah.
The guy here looks like he's about to fall asleep, basically.
He meant to click on his stock trading app.
He misclicked.
He hit Angry Birds.
He hit Angry Birds.
And you are now a gamer. Congratulations.
And that's the widest segment of gamers
26%.
out there.
That's like 50 million people.
Yeah. Of that I don't know if it's fair to extrapolate these globally because these are specifically US.
Yeah, 211. How many did you say was America?
Yeah, America was 211.
Yeah.
But if we extrapolate this to that 2.4 billion gamers in the world,
hundreds of millions.
The description here literally says non-gamers.
Of whoops, I'm accidentally a gamer now.
Yeah. So hopefully this has shed some light on where that 2.4 billion number is coming from, whether you should take it at face value or not.
We'll have to go back and listen because I definitely tried to parse who were the supers versus the incidentals, and we'll see how close my numbers were.
Gotcha. Yeah. There's
Send
a lot.
us $7,000.
$7,500. We can get the gender breakdowns in each of these. We can get average ages, lots more. There's a lot of other fun information in this PDF. I sent it to you.
Oh, yeah. I'm totally looking at it.
That's all I wanted to cover about it today.
Boys. Oh, wow. This is so...
All of the teal categories are redacted in this table of contents. Only the black ones are in here.
I totally wanted to know about what girls 6 to 9 are playing.
Yes.
They're playing Episode. Have you heard of Episode?
No.
Bailey made me play this. It's this iOS game. And you're literally just playing as like a Bitmoji. You're going through your life. Look at these thumbnails. We played the prom one. I said It has the most persuasive microtransactions of any game.
Really?
So you choose what you look like, what your date looks like, what you say, and I gotta get a dress for the prom. It's just so last minute. Oh, my boyfriend got the fashion designer that I follow on Instapic. All right, what do you want to wear? And it's all of these outfits. Oh, but you gotta spend 20 gems, which you can earn by playing like one playthrough is like 1 gem. But if you don't want to spend the money, I'll just wear this dowdy looking dress that my mother gave me, and it's like, I want to look pretty, or I want to what was she saying? There's one thing where it's like, how do I get to know my roommates better? And the character's like, let's have a girls' night out. And it's like, really? And there's a paywall right there, and you have to be like, on second thought, maybe let's just stay home and do nothing. And it's like, girls' night out would have been fun. And it's like, God damn it, I really want to spend this money now so I can feel like I'm a social
butterfly.
Yeah. So
socialite.
Ages 6 to 9, this is what girls are playing, in my opinion. But we'll know once the fans send us $7,000.
Yeah. But and then, of course, we won't be able to tell them, but we'll know.
No, we'll know, and we'll be like, guys, you can't wait until you see this. This you'll never see it, but we know so much more. Gamers spent on it. Wow, yeah. In the past 6 months, this is such a brilliant. It's so redacted.
Yeah, it's blurred out. It's just tantalizing you with those industry secrets.
It's on the same thing as the breakdown. Oh man, yo, okay, we need who? Cooper was your man on the inside?
Yeah, Cooper.
Yo, let me. Okay, hey, Cooper, like this is Heath. Wait, I'm gonna. hey, Cooper, this is Heath. Like real talk, I gotta know this redacted stuff on the PDF that Chris is showing me. Like I'll give you all the business emails you want. Like. I don't have, dude. I'll get you the 7,000 one way or another, but that's what's up. All right, so what an awesome segment. That's okay. The podcast title has gotta be "Give us $7,000." What's next, Chris?
That was all I had for news.
All right, well dude. It's so beautiful too.
Very high quality visuals in this PDF.
I wish I made this PDF.
Listeners, you can't see this, but high production values in this PDF.
This is meant to be sold to Bethesda.
Yes, Bethesda is all over this.
They are already reading this. Maybe we should just join a games company. Whatever. Okay.
We should take a break at this point. Catch you later. Heath, did you have any closing comments about the demographic segmentation, gamer segmentation breakdown?
I mean, I'm going to read it over between this episode and next, but there's definitely some things that I'm identifying with. They do go into what percent of gamers watch videos. It says 70%. And it definitely, like, most of them are on YouTube, some of them are Twitch, none are on Mixer. But
less than 1% on Mixer.
That'll change when Ninja just takes the platform by storm.
Yeah.
He already has. He's gotten like 1 million followers on it.
Microsoft paid for him to join exclusively on Mixer.
So much money. Yeah, we didn't talk about that. Okay, so he got paid, I think it was $20 million a year.
Wow, I hadn't
for
heard
3
that.
years.
Gotcha. It's like being drafted for a professional football team.
Yeah, it's like a recording artist joining this one label or something like that.
Ninja was traded from Twitch to Mixer.
Yeah. And all of his fans went with him. Well, that's not true. Twitch is doing fine. Will I ever be on Mixer? No. I'm not going to make that jump. I'm barely on Twitch. I'm barely on YouTube. But here, okay. How has watching game content impacted your gaming habits? This is always like a footnote that I would bring up whenever we talked about stuff.
This is from the Gamer Segmentation Report.
The majority of people use videos as a guide to improve their play or get past a challenge.
That's 51%.
Yes. Other folks buy it because they saw someone playing it. I can tell you that was the case for me for this indie game called The Fall.
Okay.
And then 26% say they wanted to experience the game for themselves. Or no, what? I experienced... They're still buying it, though.
26% of people are saying, I experienced a game by watching it that I would not have otherwise purchased.
Okay.
I was never even considering buying this thing, but I got an experience out of it online watching it.
That's different from the people who are like, I would have bought the game, but I can just watch it instead.
Yes, that is also 26% of people. Basically, games are losing out on a sale from those 26%.
Oh, this is more than 100%.
Oh, yeah, it definitely is.
Anyway.
So these are overlapping categories.
I am definitely in the why would I buy it when I can watch it category previous to this podcast, where now I got to talk about it.
Okay.
But definitely, this is a gold mine of a PDF, and it's a nugget compared to what it can be. But that's, yeah. So in conclusion, what a solid document. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah.
All right, that brings us to our final segment of the show. No emails today. So we're email free after like 55% of the previous episode being only email related topics. 0% today. I have a think piece I wanted to go over with you, Heath.
Okay.
And I want to preface this with a disclaimer to all of our listeners that the following conversation there's some statistics to support it, but I took a couple statistics classes in my day, and I know correlation does not imply causation. Instead of thinking about this as hard facts, think about this as more of like a thought experiment, if you will. Okay? Very good. Several episodes back, Heath, I lamented the state of world affairs when I projected out this future dystopia where people were retreating from society to go play video games. Do you recall that?
Yeah.
This post-scarcity economy world.
I didn't think that would be the case.
Yeah, far-flung future. What if I told you, Heath, that there is a segment of the population right now living that life?
Is this the South Korean, like, e-cafes?
No, not really. This is here in the U.S.
Okay.
And I hope you're ready to talk about disenfranchised young men with me. Here we go.
Oh, is this the yeah, you were saying how young men in America are not working because they're playing too many games.
Yeah. I read an article. It's a long one from a website called Reason. I believe they have a libertarian
that's
slant.
Dark magic.
Yes, Fire Emblem, Black Magic Reason. All right. The article in question is called Young Men Are Playing Video Games Instead of Getting Jobs. That's okay for now, in parentheses. The author of which is
Ayn Rand.
Peter Suderman.
Okay.
And this is from the July 2017 issue. So it's not a brand new article or anything. It's just new to me.
It's only gotten worse.
This is a long article. I was glued to it. I don't know about you, Heath. Do you read like published articles on the internet very often? I do not. Not in their entirety anyway. But here's one where I read every single word twice or so. I reread this. I really thought it had some interesting points to it. The crux of the article, it's comparing demographics of young men in their 20s who lack a bachelor's degree. So usually more of the unskilled laborer type. And it's comparing that demographic in the year 2000 to that demographic in the year 2015. And it has some interesting results.
I mean, I didn't have a job in 2000. I was 5.
You wouldn't have been a 20-something in 2000, though.
Okay.
So this is comparing 20-somethings of the year 2000 to 20-somethings of 2015.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was no internet back then. So if you weren't working, what were you doing?
More broadly, between the year 2000 and 2015, the percentage of lower skilled men across a wide age range from 21 to 55 who had a job dropped from 84% down to 77%. That's just a 7% drop. And that's
the majority of people in that age range do not have a job? What?
84% had a job.
Okay.
In 2000. As of
Down
2015,
to
down to 77.
77, okay.
This decline is particularly acute if you constrict that age range to just men in their 20s. There, instead of falling 7%, it fell 10% over the same period, from 82% down to 72%. And then, in 2015, he noted, and this statistic is
pretty damning.
It surprised me. In 2015, 22%, so over 1 in 5 men in their 20s who lack a college degree had not worked a single day in the entire past 12 months, an entire year. 1/5 of men in their 20s who don't have a degree are unemployed. That 22% figure was only 10% back in the year 2000. So that has increased, it more than doubled. Just some more things about this demographic. Back in 2000, 35%, so a third of lower skilled men lived with their family. Now that is over 50%. More of them are moving back in with relatives and family members. And that's true whether or not they're employed, actually. For those who lack employment, it jumps even higher. If you are not employed, 70% of them live with family. And roughly 90% of these people, they're not establishing families of their own. They're single, they're childless, they're relationshipless. And
many of them are incels.
That we cannot comment on that.
I've done the research.
However, there's also has been a change on their amount of leisure time.
As their not employment goes up, so does their leisure time.
Yes, I mean, that sounds obvious, but compared to 2000, there's an extra 4 hours of leisure time every week for this demographic. And 75% of those 4 hours is spent playing video games.
As opposed to other leisure activities?
As opposed to anything else.
Yeah.
And the most interesting of all, this group reports far higher levels of overall happiness than low-skilled men from the turn of the 21st century. The 2015 group is happier than men in the same situation in the year 2000. In contrast, self-reported happiness for older workers, so the different segment of the population, without a degree, so unskilled older men.
Yeah, just older versions of these guys.
It's fallen throughout the same period.
They're less happy.
Older guys, less happy. For low-skilled young women, and also for men with college degrees,
they're furious.
Their happiness has stayed identical. It has not changed across the 15-year gap. Quoting from the article, a significant part of the difference comes down to what Hearst has called innovations in leisure computer activities for young men. These guys are...
it's too engaging for these young men to handle, and they're just getting sucked in.
From a similar article citing some of the same studies, it says, the gaming doesn't account for the full difference in workforce participation between younger men and older men, but they estimate that the video game factor accounts for between 38 to 79% of the variance. That's a big window, but still, even at the low end, 38% of the factor into this lower workforce participation is attributed to digital entertainment, to games. There's more to dig into here. This is mostly me talking for now. Sorry, Heath.
Well, I think to say that this situation could ever be exacerbated to the point where it starts to affect GDP, and you turn on CNN and it shows there's so many numbers that were said. You said 1/5 probably. To say that it would get so bad as to you turn on CNN and a third of low skill men are addicted to, or not even just addicted, but wasting their time on games, causing the cardboard industry to go under. I think that's in the far future still.
I found what I was looking for. Okay. No, for now, I agree with you.
What are you looking for?
For now, I agree with what you just said.
Just go on.
So basically, am I just saying that, oh man, games are more fun than jobs? No wonder that these guys aren't working. Mm-hmm. The term they use in this study is that, in economists' terms, video games raise an individual's reservation wage. A reservation wage is the amount of compensation it requires to make someone choose to go to work. AKA, they think the types of jobs that would be available to a 20-something dude who does not have a degree or skills, marketable skills, they'd be working this
service industry,
close to minimum wage,
construction,
low prestige, low appreciation kind of job. As a society, we don't show a lot of thanks for these types of jobs. In fact, we kind of tell them they're losers. If we're getting down to it, there's no prestige associated with being a cashier.
Right.
There's no social value. Or we aren't attributing social value to that position.
I don't tip my Easy Pass toll booth worker.
So for this segment of the population, they're saying, you want me to go spend my time doing this repetitive, boring activity.
Washing dishes.
For very low pay, and you're going to tell me that I'm a loser for doing it while I'm doing it?
When I could be playing God of War.
No, thank you. This article goes on to state one political platform presidential hopefuls are running on, some of them, maybe even Andrew Yang.
Yang Gang! Hashtag Yang Gang!
Is some sort of proposal for universal basic income.
Yeah, did you just call it the freedom dividend?
Yes. Heath, you're a fan of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, aren't you?
Yes. I don't have any specifics, but go into it.
This is a pyramid with 5 sections to it. This is a social theory that we as humans need to satisfy the lower rungs of the pyramid, moving up, and once we satisfy them all, we can live a content existence.
Yeah, so the bottommost one is like essentials.
Yes, essentials. Physio-sociological needs. This is food, this is water,
shelter,
warmth,
light,
and rest. Moving up, the second category is still considered a basic need. This is safety needs, just security and safety. You're not constantly under threat.
Not unpredictable, yeah. Going up, it's not quite social, but
we get
personal?
into psychological needs, which include belongingness and love. Moving up, we have esteem needs. This is like feelings of prestige and accomplishment.
Yeah.
And at the very pinnacle, we have the self-actualization, achieving one's full potential, including creative activities. So, universal basic income is supposed to be a safety net that provides for those essentials. Universal basic income has you covered for the 2 lowest rungs. You have food, you have a place to live, you're not in danger of dying.
Yeah, that's great.
This quote out of context seems crazy, but after thinking about it for a while, I think it makes a lot of sense. From the article, video games, you might say, offer a sort of universal basic income for the soul. Video games are essentially
provide belongingness.
They're plugging it in to fulfill when you don't have work to satisfy you. It's fulfilling those 3 upper tiers of the hierarchy of needs. Belongingness. These guys are often playing games online
community.
With their friends.
Yeah.
They're a key part of a team. The esteem needs. There's a great quote.
There's literally prestige in games.
In Call of Duty, you're prestige. No, that's not what we're talking about.
Esteem. What's the quote?
This is a quote from Woolpaw. He says, "What games are good at, what they are designed to do, is simulate being good at something. It's a simulation of being an expert. It's a way to fulfill a fantasy. That fantasy, ultimately, is one of work, it's one of purpose, it's one of social and professional success." Video games are, in many ways, what I would consider an idealized form of work, stripped of all the unpleasantness.
I'm getting uncomfortable. Just like realizing, our pastime is like a Kafka-esque. Or
what is Kafka-esque?
Isn't that mean that you feel unease from? I'm getting blown up. Oh wait, we did have a correction.
Is now the time to interject that, or is it relevant?
No. Oh, Kafka-esque is like reminiscent of an oppressive or nightmarish quality. That's not quite what I mean, but yeah, there's definitely utility of derived from video games that are part of their design, what they're good at. Like I'm bamboozled into feeling accomplished.
Yes, they're from the onset. These days, at least, games are being designed with the intention that you're going to be able to finish them.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case back in the arcade days where they wanted you to lose as fast as possible so you could put in another quarter.
Suck at the money, yeah.
These days, they want to keep you engaged so that you continue plugging in those microtransactions.
Yeah, you saved the princess.
So constant positive feedback.
DLC.
Constant bars going up. The progression in Fire Emblem has me hooked like an addict on a drug.
You are, just pumping golden tears into your veins.
There's a part in this article where they literally ask, are video games too good? Are they making people too happy?
This is the perfect follow-up to every other episode.
If we get really dystopian here...
that was another word. I was like dystopian or Kafkaesque, yeah.
You know, he talks about video games raising the reservation wage. It's effectively...
Define that again. So that's just the top 3.
Basically, how much do we have to pay you to make you choose to work? How much do we have to give you to make you say, yeah, working is in my best interest now? He's saying video games, for this segment of the population, are acting as a de-incentive to work. Work, I'm not an anti-work person. I think work is kind of essential. It is fulfilling. The idea is a compatible job for you is fulfilling those top 3 needs of the hierarchy of needs. Without them, just having enough food to get by does not make for a happy human being. What if
it's like good food though? What if it's like Stacy's pita chips?
What if you're having 10 meals a day?
Yes! Yay! Yeah, Chris, you forget I eat 10 meals a day in Fire Emblem 3 Houses. That's perfect. Yay.
On the one hand, it's maybe de-incentivizing work for these people because video games are taking care of those needs on their own. Mm-hmm. Also, in the really dystopian future where...
What, the bread lines?
It's saying it's also a de-incentive against...
Reproduction? Or?
Riots and social unrest. Because if you're...
control the masses.
Yes. If your disenfranchised portion of the population is basically content, they're having their higher needs taken care of through video games.
We just went to Black Mirror.
They're not going to be upset about anything enough to revolt.
Oh, yeah.
Pros and cons there.
You're mad about the police state? Who cares? You just unlocked the Fire Flower. Whoops, where did my rights go?
I have multiple takes on this.
Yeah, we have a spider web of a conversation that we need to have.
On one hand, I think this is really bad news.
I might have poo-pooed at this too early, because it is persuasive.
Yeah. This other article I'm occasionally referencing is called Why Young Men Might Be Playing Video Games Instead of Going to Work by Evan Urquhart. Also came out around the same time. He brings in a different sociological model instead of the hierarchy of needs.
Oh, is it like the Keynesian work?
He talks about the
Venn diagram?
Self-determination theory.
Okay.
This is where rewarding work grants you autonomy, competence, and relatedness. He cites reasons on how video games, maybe more so than traditional jobs, are providing those 3 aspects of rewarding work, and how that's maybe a problem. Like I was getting to earlier, I find this upsetting on one hand. Here's another fun fact for you.
Fun fact.
This comes from Gallup, and specifically the study is...
Like the poll place?
Yeah.
Okay.
State of the global workplace. It says 85% of employees are not engaged or actively disengaged at work.
What does that mean? Like autonomous?
That means not invested in the productivity of their work.
Yeah. So are you just like pushing buttons?
Basically, they don't have an emotional motivation to do well.
Okay, but what if you're... okay. Yeah, that works for any job.
So in a world where, I've seen different numbers. On a more optimistic side, I've seen it where only like 51% of employees are disengaged at work. That's still the majority, though. In a world where our traditional jobs leave so many people wanting more or unhappy, it makes me wonder...
You could have happiness is right on the shelf there.
Can we adapt the principles that we clearly know how to make a compelling video game, which is kind of, like I was saying before, an idealized form of work, free of all the hardships and problems that the real workplace has?
Nothing but, or even the challenges are fun.
Yes.
It's fulfilling reservation work. We ought to write a book.
game designers, we clearly know how to keep people invested and hooked. Can we apply more of those principles to like actual jobs that provide value? Can we make more people happy to go to work every day?
We need to knock on the door of the folks who make the occupational handbook or whatever. You ever look at that in Home Careers where it's like, what job do you want? And you have to go on the OOH.
Yeah.
We got to go there and be like, all right, guys, this is Tom Howard. He's going to help you design the fun job.
Right.
Is that what you're like? Not quite what you're saying, but
there's a term out there that I think has been gamification. I've heard about gamification of education. Basically, XP bars and badges and concrete milestones that you hit as you are studying something. This isn't widely adopted or anything, but I'm wondering if there's something there. I'm wondering if we know how to keep people engaged. We know the right triggers, dopamine triggers.
Yeah, we have such a grasp on how to make a compelling game.
When people spend the majority of their waking hours at a job, wouldn't it be exponentially better if they were having a good time for the majority of it?
We're getting really like city planning, 5-year plan. Like we're getting like the workers' committee in the Soviets and being like, we would be able to produce so much more if they enjoyed it.
Yes.
We will.
We're two schlubs who don't have the answer.
Well, I mean, it's fun to postulate.
I actually think as time goes on, fewer and fewer people will be content with the status quo of traditional obligations right now. This disenfranchised group, they're already splitting off and going their own way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not advocating for diving deep into video games and shutting out every loved one in your life. But I mean, these people are doing that right now, or the statistics might imply asterisk. Correlation does not imply causation. It's not going to go down from here, I don't think.
No.
It's going to stay the same or go up.
Leisure is on the way up.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, like, I've been working for 2 years, and I've been gaming for, like, 12. And I've been able to hit a balance, but, you know, maybe that balance is getting more difficult to achieve.
Possibly. I think that's well put. The article ends with a very philosophical question. I pose the question of whether video games offer actual happiness or just a pale simulacrum, meaning unsatisfactory imitation or substitute.
Oh.
Is the happiness games provide artificial and worthless? Is it not the real thing? And he doesn't answer the question. In fact, he says, this is a philosophical question that I do not have the answer to. The author article recounts personal anecdotes of the times he spent during the global recession of 4 months of unemployment and how games were really there for him during that time.
Oh.
And how he played things like Fallout 3.
Fallout 3, you're saying?
He played Fallout 3, he played Halo 3 and Mass Effect and Assassin's Creed during that time. He had taken a long break from games during his college days where I think he messed around with like the original Counter-Strike, and he was kind of blown away with how far they had progressed. And that's in January of 2009. So we're 10 years further down the clock to doomsday now. Games are just getting better.
You were saying how like video games were there for them.
Yes.
Friggin' Nakey Jakey, you know this guy.
Yeah, I know him.
Yeah, he did like a whole, like a 9-minute video of him just like laying in a bed recounting like how Dark Souls basically saved his... The title of the video is Dark Souls Saved Me from disillusion, and you know, he might not have been able to find work because he's like a video producer. And it's like a really intimate video of it, literally like by his bedside.
Yeah, he's like in a fetal position.
Just like a portal to this sort of vulnerable part in like young men's life where, yeah, video games will definitely fill a void if it's not being fulfilling from your place of employment.
Yeah. I think about how, as a human species, we've done pretty well. We no longer live in threat of our life every day. We've got things kind of taken care of. there's a lot of inconsequential jobs out there. And that sounds pretty elitist, but whether or not a cashier shows up for work one day is not going to have far-reaching implications.
I use self-checkout all the time.
Yes, I use self-checkout all the time too. The stock market is routinely hitting all-time highs. The economy is not suffering for these people electing to not participate in it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like automation's going to steal all the jobs. Watch out. I don't actually believe that because there was a time where 90% of the workforce was in agriculture, and that's clearly not the case now. We create jobs.
Agriculture is still pretty big, I imagine.
I thought there was like 10% of the workforce.
Oh, is it down to 10?
I could just be making that up.
I love work statistics.
Me too. Hey, this is Chris in Post. Just thought I'd mention that according to Wikipedia, as of 2008, less than 2% of Americans are directly employed in agriculture. So as humans, the jobs, they don't disappear and people are just mass unemployment. We kind of have this self-sustaining machine at this point. Society keeps chugging along. That makes it hard to feel like you're essential, like you matter.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is replaceable, more or less, except for the very few at the top. That self-actualization is tough to achieve. And when games are constantly telling you, you're the best, you're checking all the check boxes, you're doing what we want you to do.
Yeah, you're an S-rank boy.
It's becoming increasingly rare to find that in your day-to-day life. And
Yeah.
they're kind of filling that void.
To say that video games are just selling action and thrills is short-sighted.
Yeah, it's providing something deeper, but there is that philosophical question. Are you fooling yourself?
That's what I was worried about.
Yeah. Should we value the experiences games provide us less because they are digital, because it is an artificial world? Are we just living in a simulation? Is it all meaningless?
Okay.
All right, never mind.
Let's pull it back.
Yeah, so I don't have any answers. I just wanted to share my existential angst on the podcast.
Well, it was great. I definitely got a pit in my stomach at one point. Well, I hope to revisit this all the time because it's gonna be like, whoa, children are lacking utility from life choices, or people aren't buying houses; they're buying switch lights.
Well, Heath, I never heard you utter the words, "You're blowing my mind, Chris," with these statistics.
Okay, well,
So,
I mean...
I'm afraid I failed this podcast.
No, I definitely... There were... I mean, that's just because I'm so good at guessing.
Yeah.
You'd have to tell me something that I didn't know, but...
You were very much on the ball with those percentage guesses.
Yeah.
Like off by 2% or something.
Yeah,
Crazy.
So... As this situation develops, it could easily blow my mind. Like, there's no telling, but
More or less likely to blow your mind than the Outer Wilds.
So spoiler, it's Groundhog Day, right?
You're on a loop.
Yeah, you're on a loop, and I could like as soon as you get you don't know anything.
Okay. Yeah.
But apparently there is a gotcha mystery.
Yeah.
As compelling as that initial one, according to the boys. So we'll see about that. Let us know what you think of workers, the state of labor in the United States, because we find it super interesting.
Also, send us $7,000.
Please send it, dude. If everyone sends us $7, because we have like 100 fans, right?
I'll tell you off the air.
We have 7 fans. Give us $100 each.
And we'll be 10% of the way there.
Yeah. Oh, what? It's 7,000? Oh, crap. We need more fans. We need whales. We just need a few whales.
This has been episode 22 of Mobius Tubes. You can write us an email at MobiusTubesPodcast@gmail.com.
Or at Mobius Tubes on Twitter. Actually, thank you for listening. This was like a good episode. Like, ship this around.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites.
This is a good one.
I have to say.
Don't listen to 21. Listen to 22.
Yeah, 21. Just a kind of a filler episode.
Did you listen to 21? Joke's on you. That one was bad.
22 is where it's at.
Yo, that's all we got.
All right, signing off. See you next time.